You're listening to the Men's Dating Mastery Podcast with host Alec Chase, bringing you the experts in dating, sex, and relationships.
Hello and welcome to part 2 of my very intriguing interview with Frank Kermit on the 10 emotional needs of women. In part 1, we covered the first 5 emotional needs, and in this part, we're going to cover the remaining 5. In addition, Frank shares how he was able to establish multiple open relationships with women who had previously never been polyamorous. Now, if you listen to part 1, then you already know that Frank is giving away 3 free products. In that episode, I told you how to get the first 2 and promised that I would tell you how to get the 3rd product in this episode. Well, it's time for me to honor that commitment. Frank's 3rd product giveaway is a 5-set audio program called Pimping Your Pad. As you might guess, this program is a very comprehensive guide on how to decorate your place. To download this program, go to the show notes for this episode, which are at mensdatingmastery.com/Frank Kermit 2. That's the number 2, not the word. And click the link under the title Free Giveaway at the top of the page. As a reminder, if you want to get Frank's other products, you can go to the show notes for part 1 of this interview at mensdatingmastery.com/Frank Kermit 1. Again, that's the number 1, not the word. And click the link under the same title, Free Giveaway. This will get you Frank's ebook, The Emotional Needs of Women, which is what this interview is based on. Finally, to get Frank's 3-set audio program, The Art of Charisma, From Creepy to Charisma, go to the show notes for episode 14 called Using Body Language to Create Attraction with Patty Contenta. And again, find the link under the title Free Giveaway. The URL for this episode is mensdatingmastery.com/podcast-Patty Contenta. If you can't remember all those URLs, then just head over to mensdatingmastery.com and browse through the podcast page. They're pretty easy to find. Don't forget that these products are not some superficial form of online marketing. They are serious, in-depth products representing $270 in value. So they'll be available for free only until September 16th of 2015. After that, the links will be taken down and the only way to get them will be to purchase them, just like everybody else. So get them free while you can. Now, without further ado, here's the rest of my conversation with Frank.
Well, emotionally number 6 is trust and honesty, but very specifically, prove that you are not afraid to upset her with the truth. As long as she knows that you're never going to lie to her just so you don't have to deal with the unpleasantness of her bad mood, she will trust you. And if you make a mistake, or if you say something that's really bad, or if you end up doing something that, she should normally leave you for, she's actually more likely to stay, because the bottom line is she trusts you.
Right.
So when you see couples that you think, why are they still together? They have such drama in their relationship and they're breaking up and getting back and breaking up and getting back. Well, first of all, we know that girl has a high need for drama. So now we can do a profile on the girl. Well, she has a high need for drama. She keeps going back and forth with this guy. Maybe she blames him as, I'm dating the bad guy, so it protects her reputation as being the good girl. Maybe protection of reputation is there. Maybe she's really immature, and when she's with him, she gets to act super immature. Cater to the little girls, probably important to her. Do you get it? They all intertwine, and you can actually start making a profile on the type of girls that you're dating. Now this goes into a whole bunch of an advanced topic of, how do you find the girl that you really should be with long term? Well, you would have to figure out her emotional needs profile and then modify your behaviors to that and go in places where those type of women would hang out. Getting back to emotionally number 6. If a girl says to you, do I look fat in this dress? Most guys say, no, honey, no, you don't look fat in the dress, which might be a lie. You're not helping her protect her reputation, violation of number 1. You're not being honest with her, violation of number 6. You're a nice guy. You don't want to hurt her feelings. You don't want to see her upset because maybe you can't handle her being upset. You don't want to be the one to hurt her. That's okay. You're a good guy. But not at the expense of lying to her. Women are getting lied to all the time. Why? A lot of guys just want to get into her pants. She knows this guy's going to say whatever he has to say to get into my pants. I just don't trust men. It's not until there's some sort of outside force that shows, no, he wouldn't have lied about that. He was being legitimate about that she says, okay, I can trust him. Or you could just be so honest about something, even if it means upsetting her. Can you handle her bad mood? Can you handle her being upset? Because if you can, and you can be honest with her and actually say, lady, I think you're beautiful, but that dress does not complement your body. Change. If she gets upset and you turn around and say, don't get upset with me. When you ask me a question, you're always going to get the truth. Now I'm getting assertive. And I'm standing my ground. I'm issuing my boundary. Wow, so not only have I been honest, but I've also addressed number 4. I'm being assertive. And if she's still getting upset and you can handle it, wonderful. You just addressed number 2. You've given her emotional range.
Phenomenal. I love the interrelationship between all these.
Okay. So as long as she knows that she can trust you, her guard goes down. Even if what you're telling her the truth about is, yeah, I kind of made out with that other girl. Sorry. She's not thrilled about it. She's upset about it. But at the same time, if she likes emotional range, well, there's plenty there.
Oh, yeah.
If she's the type of girl that interprets, well, my reputation is better because although he made out with her, he's actually dating me. Oh, well, protection of reputation could be there. Mm-hmm. Again, it depends how each girl interprets her own emotional need. And when you're trying to figure out, how do you know? Well, you have to look at the way she was raised. It all comes back to childhood. But again, that's advanced stuff. Let's keep it simpler here. If the guy is always honest with her, she does not have to be like a mother trying to figure out, is this kid lying to me? When a mother says, did you wash your hands? Did you go to the bathroom? Did you put away your toys? And the kid says, yes, but the kid is actually lying. The mothering instinct has to kick in to figure out, is this kid lying or is this kid telling the truth? Well, if she knows that you're going to be honest no matter what, even if it's not in your favor, that wins really big points. The night I had that poly date when the 2 girls both left my house and they had agreed to take a taxi together, I found out that the conversation they had after they left was, Frank was really honest. Yeah, I really trust him. Yeah, me too. Well, duh, I'm seeing more than one person at the same time and I'm being honest about everything. And because I'm bringing them together to meet, there's no way I can lie about anything because they're going to find me out. And that was a big reason why they continued to see me for some time.
This is actually a bit of a side question, but I can't resist asking, were these 2 women, prior to meeting you, were they comfortable with being in a polyamorous relationship, or had they been in one before, or was this completely new to them?
Completely new to them. Up until that point, they had only done monogamy, period.
Okay.
That was it. That was all. Only had done monogamy. The whole concept of seeing more than one person without it being an illicit affair or something, it just, nobody had ever been that honest with them and saying, no, I'm going to see as many people as I can until I find the one person that I'm not, don't have to worry is going to divorce me. And whenever I introduced the concept of dating more than one person, I was brutally honest. I'm going to give you the exact speech that I gave every single woman that I dated. I am terrified of divorce. I have seen it destroy human beings. I've seen it destroy children. I've seen it destroy adults. When I lost my ex-fiance, look, we weren't even married, and it was so traumatic for me that I said, if losing my ex-fiance, that we weren't even living together, if it's that devastating for me now, I'm not going to survive a divorce. So I started off by telling them I'm terrified of divorce. So my job is to date as many people as possible until I find someone that makes me feel that marrying them is a marriage that's going to last forever. And I'm not going to date someone monogamous for 7 years and then decide, oh, it's not going to work. I'm not going to limit myself to meeting the right person, and I want you, the woman, to go out and date as many people as well. And I also used to remind women, it's better for you than for me to be polyamorous because you have a biological clock. Every 5 years means it gets harder and harder for you to find a steady life partner. And at some point, you can't have kids anymore. So you better be dating as many people as possible until you find that one person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, if monogamy is the way to go.
So
Go ahead.
I was going to comment and say, as assertive and as unapologetic you were in saying that, you also really exposed yourself on your own vulnerability.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I would not advise people to go with all of their vulnerabilities, because there are some things you don't need to share on the first few dates. There's some things you should only share after you've learned to trust somebody. There's some things you should only disclose at the fiancé level. Like once you make somebody your fiancé, then you're going to disclose it because you have to figure out if they can handle it. But transparency is the currency of credibility.
And when you had that kind of conversation with the women that you were dating, how many of them responded positively versus said, okay, thanks for the honesty, not for me, I'll be on my way now?
Over 90% positive.
Over 90% positive. And so they would continue to date you after that.
Yeah, and these were women that were not previously polyamorous in any way.
Okay.
I just made it clear I never want to get divorced, which again, she's thinking, well, if I end up with Frank, he's already thinking that divorce is just not an option. So which emotional need am I addressing? Number 5, fear of abandonment. So now I'm making it clear, I'm going to date you. I'm dating other people. You got to be dating other people. And it always happened. Even when the girls did date other people, they only started dating other people, if nothing more, to test me. Hey, just to let you know, I had sex with somebody else. Well, okay. I wasn't asking, but okay. Is this the guy that you want to marry? Is this the guy you want to have your future with? No. All right. I still like you. Let's keep getting to know each other. And that alone, a lot of these women, this shocked me. A lot of these women stopped dating other guys because they wanted to prove to me, well, you see, I'm already committed to you on that level.
And the thing that I'm hearing here as well, as much as you were saying, you know what, we're in a polyamorous relationship, I reserve my right to see other people. In that same breath, you were letting them know that you were very much open and willing to get into a long-term relationship. It's just that you needed to be certain, and she had to prove that she was worthy of that.
It's all about her ability to earn that commitment. And as long as she knows what the criteria is to earn that commitment, she'll stick around because it's predictable. And look, there was a girl I dated. She was a smoker. I'm not a smoker. I'm asthmatic. I got lung issues. And I told her in no uncertain terms, I says, I could never marry you. I could never even live with you because you smoke and I don't. And I'm never going to ask you to stop. If you stop for you. You're not stopping for me. And she says, oh, yeah, right. So what if one day I actually stop smoking? I said, then we're going to revisit it. And she says, really? I says, I like you enough to spend time with you now. But because I know that this one aspect is just an impasse for us, if this one aspect gets removed, then we're going to go back and see, well, where else are we compatible? Can we make this work? Now, the woman never quit smoking. For the record, she never quit smoking, but she knew that her ability to be with me long term, she had the power to make it happen if that's what she wanted.
This is something I take a great amount of interest in, but just for the sake of listeners to make sure that they can continue to follow us along, I'd like to get us back on track, and that would be going to emotional need number 7.
Number 7, protection and safety. This does not mean that you have to be able to, beat up every other guy that comes on to her. It means that you're going to do whatever it takes to keep her safe. And it could be anything from walking on the outside of the curb on a rainy day so that the car splashes you and not her, to, hey, some guy is really giving her a hard time. You can't beat the guy up, you know it, but are you willing to take the punch? Are you willing to take the hit so she can escape? Or maybe it's something like what happened to me and the woman I married. She hurt her knee and wasn't able to walk on ice just because, she falls down, she gets hurt. Her landlord didn't put salt down on the ice to melt it away. And she says, I'm really kind of worried here. So I took it upon myself, went knocking on his door, and I says, hey there, I'm dating so-and-so, and I was hoping that you had some salt, because if you give me the salt, I'll go put it down on the ice, because she hurt her knee. And I was, I was very amicable. I didn't threaten. I went there and I was very calm and just made a point to connect with him to say, hey, put the salt down on the friggin' floor. And he said, oh, absolutely, absolutely. I just didn't have time. And next thing you knew, it was never a problem again. And it isn't because I had to threaten him. I just went there and I was looking out for her safety.
Thank you for framing it that way, because I think a lot of guys make the misconception of being physical protection or even being dominant, as you had mentioned when describing emotional need number 4. They assume that means being big and strong and aggressive and mean, and that's not really it.
No, it's just looking out for her safety. Looking out for her safety might even be something like, oh, drat, I gotta go get my bus pass, and it's really late at night, and the guy says, oh, you know what? Here's a bus ticket. Here's money for a bus ticket. Get your bus pass tomorrow during the day. Don't go out late at night where, it's not safe for you on the street. He's looking out for her safety. He's making her feel protected. Mother lover theory at work. If he's looking out for her safety and if he's looking out for her protection, she doesn't have to keep her guard up. She doesn't have to be the mother persona, even for herself. So the guard goes down. She's not feeling like a mother. And by default, since she can't feel like a mother in that moment, by default, she has to feel the potential of a lover.
Let's talk about emotional need number 8. I think this is one where guys
mess up.
Largely and very, very commonly.
All right, emotional need number 8. Can you handle her sexuality? Let's replace the word handle with the word accept. Can you accept her sexuality? If you cannot accept her sexuality, dude, you shouldn't be dating her. And when I say her sexuality, I'm not talking about that you have to be a sexual dynamo. You don't have to be a great lover. It helps. You can learn very specific techniques. But you don't have to be a great lover. Here's what it means. If she's a virgin and she needs you to move slow, can you handle that? If she worked in the sex industry during a couple of years while she was in university trying to make ends meet, can you handle that? If one of the people she had sex with was, a cousin of yours years ago, can you handle that? If there's a certain type of sexual position she cannot do, she physically cannot do, can you handle that? If there's a certain fetish that she's really into and she wants to explore it, even if it means not exploring it with you, can you handle that? There are some guys, I swear, there are times when I just want to smack some of these guys. They come in talking about how they want the girl to be into girl-on-girl action and all of these things. But then when they meet a girl who's into all that, and the girl just doesn't happen to be into him, he turns around and starts calling her a this and a that, and, oh, well, she's a bad person because. Look, either you can handle it and you're accepting of it, or you're not. Don't be homophobic and then expecting your girl to do girl-on-girl actions because it doesn't count. It's just the ridiculousness of it. I have seen marriages end because of stuff like that. I wrote about one particular couple in my book, the Emotional Needs Analysis Workbook, the one with the blue cover, where the guy was married to a bisexual woman, but he never knew. And her best female friend was bisexual, but was completely out. It never occurred to him that, well, maybe my wife and her, experimented at some point, and he was always bashing her for being bisexual. Well, you can't commit to anybody if you're bisexual. You can't do this. You can't. And then one day he turns to his wife and says, I'd really like a threesome with you and her. What do you say?
Yeah, no way. Not after that.
Not after that. At that point, she's thinking, okay, great. What am I supposed to do now with this guy? He's bashing. So many emotional needs get violated in that situation. You can read about it in the book. And the real life story is shortly after that, they were divorced in less than a year.
Yeah, well, it's that Madonna horror complex that so many guys talk about. As men, so many of us walk around, they want women to be this angel this asexual angel that doesn't do these naughty things until they're with her.
Right. Until they're with her.
And that's when they want the slut to come out.
Yeah, but that's because these men have their own fear of abandonment. And any man who has fear of abandonment is going to end up destroying his life. Fear of abandonment is not an emotional need that a man can afford to have. That's again something more advanced. We can always do another interview on the emotional needs of men. But any man who wants the Madonna whore complex, he wants her to be asexual so that way he doesn't ever risk losing her. But then his own need for sex, which is another emotional need of his, says, but when we're in the bedroom, we got to do this. Look, you can't have it both ways, guy. And if you want a woman who is sexually comfortable to express herself in the most, naughtiest ways with you, you have to be encouraging of it, not just with her, but with all people. Because if you have a hatred for everybody that you don't get to be with, that hatred isn't just because they're rejecting you. That's a hatred you have because you have an issue with sex. And you don't earn your own sexually satisfying lifestyle if you spend a lot of time hating people for sex. So if a guy cannot handle her sexuality, her guard is up. What can I share with him? What can I not share with him? What can I say in the heat of a passionate moment? What do I have to remember that I can't tell him? What lies did I tell him that I have to remember? She's thinking like a mother. Her guard is up. But if he can totally handle her sexuality, and she can say or do whatever it is she wants, and she can talk about her fantasies openly, she's more likely to continue to be your lover. I had this one, I'll give one more example. Guy just wanted to see where the girl he was dating, where on the spectrum she might be, if she was bi-curious, if she was bi or anything. So he says, let me ask you something. What female celebrity do you find really, really attractive? Who would you find so hot that you would totally make out with her? So she thought about it. And then she says, well, I guess if I had to choose one, and this is a girl who prior to that had never even kissed a girl, never even thought about it. She says, well, I would like that particular celebrity. This idiot started making fun of her. You would choose her? Oh, I can't believe you. And then he started to berate her for it.
Ah, geez. As opposed to saying, well, let's go find a lookalike.
Exactly. Or saying, hey, that's really cool. I'm so happy that you feel safe enough with me that you can share that with me. And maybe you go people watching and turn it into, okay, what do you like about that person? What do you not like about that person? And then turn it into an exploration that you do together.
Right.
So when it came time and later on, he was trying to, get her into different kinds of conversations, and she just shut him down. She evoked that mothering instinct. She was being a mommy telling a little boy, be quiet, dear.
Yeah. Couldn't trust him anymore.
No. And again, but the trust factor was there. He acted in a way, he was totally honest with her. So she says, well, I can trust him to tell me things, even if it's going to upset me. So that emotional need was addressed. But number 8 was violated. What happens in long-term relationships is that over time, when more emotional needs are violated than addressed, that's when she says, I'm leaving. Why would she stay in a bad situation? Because as bad as that situation is, her primary emotional needs are being addressed, even if other emotional needs are being violated. Let's look at a situation where a woman's in a horrible situation. Her husband is a philanderer and he's always off with some other women. Why would she stay in that situation? Because maybe her emotional needs of, I don't want to be abandoned. I don't want to end up alone. I'm just going to stay here. It's safer for me here. Protection and safety. My kids are safe and protected. Okay, it's not great. And the guy's not being faithful and he's never honest about her. She can't trust him. Well, maybe trust is not that important to her. Maybe fear of abandonment's more important. Maybe she's getting off on the drama and the drama's more important. Maybe protection and safety for her and her kids is the most important emotional need for her at that time. People stay in their situations because their emotional needs are being addressed. People leave when the majority of their emotional needs are being violated. That's how you look at couples that are together and apart.
Right. So we've covered handling her sexuality.
Yeah, now let's go to emotional need number 9. Oh boy, I've had to change the name of this because some media has gotten on my back saying they didn't want to interview me because of the way I worded this.
Okay,
Ori-
yeah.
originally,
I
originally,
know what that name is, so
okay. Originally, I called this high quality sperm. Now, why did I use the term high quality sperm? Because I didn't want guys to think about sex. I wanted guys to think about procreation. The idea that whatever genetic material you have is going to get passed on to whatever children are produced here. If I made it just about sex, then I think the message would have been lost on guys. But most guys, when they hear high quality sperm, they laugh, they giggle, they think, okay, here's what it means. High quality sperm, or inheritable genetic material that the guy is going to pass on to any offspring, the masculine traits that he has that'll be applicable in that case. That's what attracts women. So if other women are into you, that's a sign you have the high quality sperm, the inheritable genetic masculine traits. If other women are not into you, she starts thinking, maybe I shouldn't be into you. Now, this covers everything from your ability to generate wealth. Maybe you were born into money, so you might carry on the genes of being able to earn money. When they say women love a man in uniform, well, the uniform is something you have to earn. There's a status there. So anything dealing with status, genetics, wealth acquirement, resources, education. Whenever a girl is looking for stuff like that, they're basically saying, you will provide for me, you will provide for our offspring, our genetic material will continue to go on beyond our time.
So to what extent would you say that addressing this particular emotional need is within a man's control? It sounds like it certainly is, but I also feel like there may be a limitation to it. So can you talk about that?
You have to look at how she interprets this particular emotional need. For example, if a woman already has it in her head that, hey, I've dated rich guys and you know what, they're all jerks and I'm not interested, you having wealth is not going to be an attractor for her. But she might say, but you've earned this degree and you've earned this accolade. And she might look at those things and say, well, he's got something going for him. This particular emotional need could make up 50% of the reason she'll choose somebody as a particular husband, if we're looking at serious long-term relationships. Sometimes it's just a genetic thing. He's got incredibly great genetics, and she says, yep, I'm into that. I don't know why. I'm just into that. It's because a part of her is saying, if I'm attracted to that, then if I have children with him, my children will carry on those same genetic traits. Other people will, other women will be, and men will be attracted to our children. And then it ensures the continuation of our gene pool. The easiest way to demonstrate that you have this emotional need covered is you have to show that other women are interested in you. I can't tell you how many times when a guy comes to me and says, I asked out a girl, she said no, what should I do? The answer is always the same. Let her see that some other girl is interested in you. That's why you need to date as many people as possible. The minute she sees another girl's interested in him, what did I miss? There are times when I have counseled people because of infidelity, and the infidelity, and this is a more common story than people will admit. It's the girl's female friends, sometimes the girl's female family, cousins and sisters and so on, that will try to have sex with the girl's boyfriend. I mean, the guy wasn't looking for it, but hey, it got offered and, he took it.
Right.
Why are these women doing it? They're not even interested in these guys for a relationship. It's the idea of, if the girl I know is into him, I want to see what he's got going on. And sometimes it's just that emotional need at work that's motivating these women.
Right.
Now, if the guy does not exhibit some sense of other girls are into him, that, and by the way, his ability to properly address a good combination of emotional needs is also a sign that other girls are going to be into him. If she feels other girls are into him, he's going to be a good provider, he's going to have all these things going on, well, I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about it. The mothering instinct goes down. The potential for lover goes up.
Here's a question on the same topic. So the ability to have access to resources is clearly a factor. So in our society, that essentially is money. To what extent are women attracted to a guy with money versus a guy who maybe doesn't have any, but has all the potential to acquire it? So perhaps he's got a high level of intelligence. Maybe he's got some very good degrees behind his name. And so the potential to make money, gain access to resources, be a good provider is there, but he may not necessarily be one in the present moment.
The answer is it depends on the girl.
Okay.
And I'll give you a specific example here. If the girl is a gold digger, now if we do an emotional needs profile of a gold digger, this emotionally number 9, high quality sperm, the genetic material, that's going to be very, very high on her radar. She's not interested in the guy who has potential. In her mind, well, I'll just date him when he finally gets there. She wants a certain lifestyle, and that's what she's gunning for. And, she doesn't care so much about her reputation of being a gold digger. In fact, she might enjoy being called a gold digger or having that reputation because it's going to help attract her to the same type of shallow guy that wants a gold digger. Whereas another woman might say, okay, this guy has the potential. He doesn't actually have the access or the wealth right now, but he has the potential, but he's addressing some other emotional needs of mine. Maybe he caters to my little girl, and that's really important to me. Maybe I know that he's very mindful of reputation, and I want to explore things with him. Maybe he can handle my sexuality in a way that I know other guys would not. So for her, the potential might be more than enough. Each girl has the same emotional needs, but not to the same degree. So you could have two girls in exactly the same type of situation, and one of them is getting turned on and one of them is getting turned off. And it has nothing to do with the fact that, oh, well, this girl doesn't have that. No, they all have the same emotional needs, but it's always to different degrees. So for guys out there who think logically, you have 10 emotional needs. And in an ideal world, every emotional need would be worth 10% of that 100%. But that's not the way it works. One emotional need might be 20% in terms of importance. Another emotional need might be 0% or 1%. Fear of abandonment and high quality sperm may be really high when a girl's looking for a husband. And when she's young and just looking for have some fun, maybe she's looking for drama and high quality sperm. Or maybe she's just looking for a guy to handle her sexuality.
So I imagine a girl's predisposition, perhaps her formative years, maybe even her age and what stages in her life, she'll prioritize these needs differently.
Exactly. If she already has kids, her emotional needs makeup will be different than if it's a girl who's never had children.
Right.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you if there was anything else you wanted to say on this particular emotional need, number 9.
This emotional need is really an umbrella of emotional needs. It covers so many things. The key to remember about emotional need number 9 is that a lot of guys end up getting used for this emotional need. Because the girl is more interested in what she can get out of you and not interested as much as what she can offer you.
Okay.
So if you're using emotional need number 9 to get the girl, look, on emotional need number 9, you can get laid. On that alone, emotionally number 9, you can get laid. But you can't always get love.
I don't know if I'm being too harsh in saying this, but it almost sounds to me like might as well go to a prostitute because it's such a... Well, I mean, I guess it depends.
Well, it's because the guy's on the receiving end of it. It's the same way as if the guy just wants to get laid and he's just looking for a hot girl to get laid, just go to a prostitute. If the girl is just looking to live a certain lavish lifestyle, then she can enter that world of becoming a prostitute and making the money and living that certain jet set lifestyle. With all that said, every guy out there, no matter what level he's at, he has to be mindful that he does not have a biological clock. And at any given point in time, there could be a girl who likes him a little bit, but is with him for the wrong reasons. Not because she wants to build a future with the guy, but because she looks at her situation and says, This is the best option I got, and he seems like an okay, decent guy. And I'll hang out with him until something better comes along.
Yeah, well, and to explain my own comment a little further, I meant more from the perspective of the man rather than the woman, because if you're a man and you're with a woman who's with you predominantly for your financial resources, essentially, then I don't know what you as a guy are getting out of that relationship other than physical pleasure.
I can tell you some of that. Number one, maybe he's getting the sex that he wants. Number two, maybe he has one of these emotional needs of women. Maybe he has the need of drama, the need to get attention, the need to show off. One thing I can tell you about the seduction community, and now that you have the list of emotional needs of women, you're going to see a lot of newbies in the seduction community, at least the way it was over the last 15 years. Part of their problem is they came into this seduction community, they came into this world with a lot of the emotional needs of women. These guys were addicted to the drama themselves. These guys were all about trying to show off and impress the other guys. These guys were about, I'm so scared she's going to leave me, as opposed to, look, lady, you have to earn my commitment. Because I don't have the biological clock. I could never be married and have a family until I'm 52. And at 52, I might decide, hey, I'm going to start a family now. There's no rush for me to find a life partner. A lot of these guys have the emotional needs of women. So when you're saying, what are these guys getting out of it? They're getting something out of it. And here's the answer. They're getting their emotional needs met. And maybe their emotional needs are a little bit screwed up.
I'm tempted to explore that one further, but in the interest of time.
Emotional need number 10. Boy, this one gets a laugh. Prove you're not a closet homosexual.
I imagine this one is also something that might get you in trouble with mainstream media.
Yeah, it does actually. But when I explain it, and that is sometimes guys, when they're in this realm of dating, put a lot more importance on their male friends than they do on their girlfriends. And some of these guys are very effeminate. Some of these guys give off the sensation that they would rather be with men than women. So these women start thinking, look, is this guy gay? And once I explain it, a lot of women say, yeah, well, there were a couple of boyfriends I had that I thought may be gay. They were really nice, really caring, but they almost acted like women. Or if a guy says, well, if I have to choose between hanging out with my bros or seeing my girlfriend and having sex, I'm going to go hang out with my bros, trying to show how macho he is, how masculine he is. Guy, you're choosing to hang out with your guy friends instead of having sex with your girl. Now, either you got a problem with sex or you got a problem with women. But neither one bodes well for your reputation.
There's a thought that I have on that, and I invite you to correct me if you don't think I'm right on this. But I think there should be a fine line between, I'd rather go and hang with my bros rather than be with my girl versus a guy who's made maybe a commitment to a male friend and his girlfriend is saying, well, no, let's just stay in and snuggle or have sex or whatever. I think in that situation, he needs to assert himself and say, well, you know what? I made a commitment. I need to honor it. And so I will see you later. So I wanted to draw that distinction.
In that context, you have a context there and I can understand it. I'm thinking more along the lines of when they constantly make their guy friends a priority over their girlfriends.
Okay. So you're talking about an underlying pattern.
Exactly. Because at that point, it's like, well, look, do you want to build something with a girl? And look, this is my own bias on this. But if a guy has an opportunity to be dating multiple women or hanging out with his guy friends, I can't speak for most guys. I can speak for myself. But if I had to make that choice, I would want to be with the multiple women. I love women. I love the connection with women. I love sex with women. I love women's bodies, all shapes and sizes. I'm a happy guy. I'm very easy to please. And personally, when I see it, where the guy is almost angry with women and says, well, why should I go be with her when I can hang out with my friends, and play video games? Well, do you want to connect with women? And this is where when I'm working with adult male virgins, these are some of the patterns of behavior that need to change. When I work with a guy, whether he's a former adult male virgin or not, many of them exhibit characteristics that make a lot of the women in their social circles think, well, maybe the guy is gay. He hasn't had a girlfriend in 6 years. Or maybe he's going to prostitutes, they don't know, but he's never showing up saying, well, this is somebody I'm seeing. So the women start thinking maybe he's in the closet. Maybe because of the stigma of being a homosexual man, he's not coming out of the closet. But it crosses their minds. Okay, it may not cross the guy's mind, but women are always thinking about who's hooking up with who, who's getting together with whom, what is this person's relationship history. Why? Because they have a biological clock. They have a ticker. And that clock is going tick tock, and it's making them so hyper aware of everybody's relationship status. Guys don't have the biological clock, so we don't care as much. So a lot of the guys, after I help them and after they start attracting these women, these guys end up telling me, yeah, you know the girl I just had sex with? Well, we've been friends for years, and she told me that at some point she thought I might be a closeted homosexual. And that's when it hits them, because they don't realize that their behaviors give women that type of interpretation. Let's bring up the mother-lover theory now. All right, mother-lover theory. If this guy is a closeted homosexual, that means she has to have her guard up. She can't get serious with him, or if she does, she's always got to worry, what if he leaves me for a man? I can deal with him leaving me for a woman, but if he leaves me for a man, how can I compete with that? What's going to happen to my reputation if that's the case?
I imagine that would be a horrible strike to a woman's ego, just like it would be to having your ex-girlfriend become a lesbian.
Well, chances are she didn't become a lesbian, but left you for a lesbian relationship. And we have to remember something, and this is part of the coaching, that what someone else does, who someone else sleeps with, what they do to you is not a reflection on you. Okay, it's not a reflection on your identity. There might be things you're doing that encourage those behaviors in others that you're not aware of, but it's not a reflection of your identity. When my ex-fiancée left me for my best friend, what I had to learn in my healing process is that their choices does not reflect on my self-identity. So if it happens to a woman where the guy leaves her for another guy, it's not a reflection on her identity, but that's after you go through a therapeutic process. Or you do some self-actualization work, which is what we're doing right now. This is self-actualization work so that we can become better. We become more aware. I guess to get back on point, if she has to worry on any level that you would rather be with men than with women, she knows that, hey, there's a possible abandonment, there's another emotional need violated, multiple emotional needs might be violated, you can't be completely honest. Maybe the guy is bisexual, but he's still not going to be honest with her about it because he's afraid to upset her. Whatever the reason. She has to keep her guard up. She has to be a mothering figure. If he makes it really clear, and the story that I always tell women is about the time that, hey, I used to work in the entertainment industry, I worked with a lot of homosexuals, and I got hit on. According to that, in that community, because of my size, I would be known as what's called a teddy bear. I'm a big, big, fluffy guy. And I get hit on. And I always say the same thing. I thank you. It's a compliment. I appreciate the compliment. I don't return the feelings. So thanks, but no thanks. And I will bring up this story at some point on any date. Usually, I bring it up within the first half hour at some point, or at some point in the first date, just to let her know I've had the opportunity, never took it, never was interested, so that I reinforce I like girls.
So just one final question on that particular point, just to clarify it. To what extent are you suggesting that men sending women these kind of signals about their sexuality, to what extent is that guys just exhibiting wrong behaviors versus that actually being the underlying truth that maybe they are closet homosexuals?
When it comes to, and your audience is geared for the seduction community, or is your audience geared more for general population?
General population.
Okay. Well, in terms of the seduction community, I have found that up to 10%, maybe as high as 20% of the guys in the seduction community either have had homosexual experiences or are struggling with their sexuality. Some of them are bisexual. And in terms of the general population, what I have found is that it's not a case that these guys want to be with guys. It's a case that these guys really don't get how they're coming across. Because in their minds, they're thinking, well, I know I'm straight, so everybody else should know I'm straight. Yeah, but dude, you haven't brought a girl to any of your friends' events and social circle gatherings in 5 years. Don't you think that the girls are looking at you saying, well, he's not dating anybody, so maybe he'd rather be dating men, he's just not ready. It's not something that ever crosses his mind. So he just assumes it doesn't cross their minds. But once I make him aware of this, there are times where some of these guys have gone up to the girls and said, let me ask you something. Have you ever thought I was gay? And the girls are kind of like, yeah, are you sure you really want to have this conversation? Yeah. One poor guy, he went up and asked his female friend this, and she immediately turned around and said, I'm so happy you finally came out of the closet. And the guy was like, no, I'm not. How could you think that?
Oh, no.
And then, of course, I'm going over the steps here saying, let's see, you don't talk about sex. You don't talk about girls. You don't talk about people you're dating. You never are seen with a girl in public. And, well, of course, people are going to think that. Like I said, women have the tick-tock in the back of their brain. They have the emotion. They have their biological clock, and it sends them on this emotional roller coaster of, I have to be hyper aware of the sexual status of everybody around me. Because when my time is up, if there's certain things in my life that I want, I will never get them.
It's funny what you said about the seduction community. To me, it almost sounded like the guys who are maybe unclear about their sexuality or maybe just are not straight and gravitating towards the seduction community. It almost reminds me of those guys who are homosexuals but are so far in denial and trying to convince themselves that they're not, that they gravitate towards these ultra masculine, aggressive activities like joining the military or something of that nature.
I wrote the book on how to run a seduction layer because I was there when the first few seduction layers were formed. And what I found in administering seduction layers, over the last number of years, they don't exist in the same way anymore. Was that a lot of these guys will join up with the pickup community because they want that identity. Look, I'm a pickup artist. I'm learning how to pick up. Well, dude, a true pickup artist doesn't bring attention to the fact that he's a pickup artist. That's how come he picks up the majority of the girls. But when you are involved in that, it's a protection. It's a sense of identity. I'm a pickup artist, which means that I can't be gay because I'm always learning how to pick up girls. And, 5 years into it, you still haven't gotten your first, even if it's not a steady girlfriend, you still haven't gotten your steady friends with benefits.
Right.
So, hey, hello, there's something going on there.
Sounds like troubled souls to me.
And some of them are. And look, I want to say this too. I know the seduction community gets a bad rap. I get it. And unfortunately, it's well earned because of specific individuals and not the ones necessarily in the media right now who have been blown out of proportion. But I do want to say that there's a lot of good that's come out of the seduction community, and it saved my life. So I won't go ahead and bash the thing. What I will say is that there are elements of it that I do not support. There are elements of it that are bad, but there are elements of it that are very good. And I don't consider myself a member of the seduction community anymore. My roots are there, and I'm very transparent about that. Being transparent about that has actually cost me quite a few opportunities, but I'd rather be rejected for who I am than accepted for who I'm not. And with that said, look, I'm very grateful for my time there.
Thank you. I appreciate that honesty as well. To wrap up, I want to ask you, so we've covered a lot, and this can get pretty overwhelming, especially for a guy who's deciding to look at this for the first time and learn. It could be very overwhelming, in my opinion, to look at these 10 needs, particularly given the fact that they are as interrelated as they are. And so a guy like that, what would you say? What kind of advice would you give him in terms of making the first step towards improving his dating life, keeping the conversation we had in mind in a way that he can actually take action without feeling overwhelmed?
Okay. Look, don't put any extra pressure on yourself to be perfect. There's a learning curve. Most guys come to me, and if they dedicate weekly meetings with me, within 3 months, they go from being adult male virgins to having their first girlfriend. So it can happen as little as 3 months. Don't worry about being perfect. That'll kill you in all of this. Just make it a point to learn something every day. You have to dedicate yourself to the learning, but it's doable. You're learning new belief systems. You're learning new behavior patterns. And it gets easier and easier because you keep getting positive reinforcement. When that girl who rejected you in the past is all of a sudden making efforts to have a coffee with you, that type of reinforcement is going to propel your learning in this. And there's only 10 emotional needs. Yes, there's a good amount of information for each. But once you learn the patterns and once you learn the behaviors, you just have to repeat the same behaviors over and over. And if you're the type of guy that always ends up being the friend, dude, you're halfway there. If you completely violate a woman's emotional needs, she sees you as a creep and she doesn't want you around at all. If you address some of the emotional needs and you violate some of her emotional needs, likely she'll keep you around as a friend because you're not a bad guy. You're a good guy, you're a nice guy, but you're not addressing enough emotional needs that would make her say, I want him as a lover. When you're addressing all of her emotional needs, you're going to find that women who really should not be offering themselves to you in terms of spending time with you are going to be trying to spend time with you. And then it's just a matter of where your own ethical boundaries are, where you say yes or no. So if you're a nice guy that keeps ending up the friend, dude, you're halfway there. You just have to stop violating the emotional needs that you're violating, and you have to further address the ones that you addressed a little bit.
Thank you. I think that's really going to help, guys. I have friends of mine who actively try to get better at this, and I know they shoot themselves in the foot because they read too much, they think too much, and then they get paralyzed with analysis paralysis. There are so many pieces that they're trying to keep in mind. They don't know how to proceed sometimes. They don't even know how to begin. I think that distills it down a little bit.
What I found, especially in the old days of running layers, people who are studying multiple schools of thought end up with the worst results.
Oh, really?
It's because you have so many schools of thought that you're going to get conflicting advice for exactly the same situation. So you get into that situation, you've never committed to experimenting with one particular behavior pattern. Because you're thinking, well, what do I do here? What do I do there? What do I do? But. And the moment passes. You're better off picking one school of thought, really applying it, finding out what works and what doesn't work for you. And then for the things that don't work for you, that's when you seek out another school of thought. When you got multiple schools of thought, and to give you an example, right? You got one school of thought that says, be aloof, don't show too much interest, lean back a lot, don't initiate conversation too much. Then you got the other school of thought that says, go in there, engage them in conversation, engage them with, find out about them, find out what they like, find out behavior patterns of their family, and, show them that there's something interesting about them, make them feel special. Well, these two schools of thought are in direct conflict. Why? Because the first one was for guys who show way too much interest too soon that has not been earned and they come across as needy. The second school of thought was designed for guys that maybe they've got Asperger's. Maybe they're unable to really communicate or pick up on emotional cues. So they're being encouraged to step out of their comfort zone so that they can let the girl know, hey, I'm actually interested in here. I'm not ignoring you. If you don't know where your starting point is in terms of what you really need, then you got to be mindful of the fact that you have to find the school of thought that applies to you. But if you're studying every school of thought all at the same time, you're going to end up with nothing.
That's actually a very good way of explaining it, because I imagine every school developed a system geared towards specific needs. And I imagine a lot of them are probably biased by the coaches themselves, because most coaches have their own story of their path to redemption. And so what they teach is probably largely biased by their own past self.
Exactly. Most schools have thought on this. Look at the coach, look at the struggles he went through or she went through. That's what they've become specialists at. Where did I screw up? I had the emotional needs of women, and I was violating the emotional needs of the women I wanted. I fixed the emotional needs, which was my biggest Achilles heel. I got success, and I'm very happy. So that's my main thing. And with another coach who maybe the guy was the wallflower, and a lot of the stuff is about going out there, putting yourself out there. Well, that's because that's the advice that worked for him. One of the good ways to find out if the school of thought is right for you is to find out the story of the coach and see if it resonates with you. See if there's something that you have in connection with that.
Frank, final question for you. If guys wanted to learn more about you or your products or services, or perhaps get some coaching from you, where do they go to find you?
franktalks.com. That's my website. It's got all my contact information, the phone numbers, the emails. I've got multiple newsletters there. I have a newsletter just for the adult male virgins. I got newsletters that talk about all my media appearances. franktalks.com has over 100 hours of audio and visual material from the different TV appearances I've made, from the AM radio appearances I've made. Sometimes I write articles for the newspapers, local newspapers, and they're discussed on air as well. All of that audio-visual material is there. Reviews of every product listed is there. Previews of all the CDs I have, they're there. You could spend a couple of 100 hours just going through everything on my website to figure out what it is that I can offer you. And in terms of coaching, I work on a sliding scale based on what you make a year.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Frank. And that sounds like a very generous side to what you just said. The link, of course, will be in the show notes on mensdatingmastery.com. Guys can find it there and get access to Frank's site. Frank, I don't think I have the words to express just how grateful and fascinated I was by what you said. This was possibly the easiest and most difficult conversation that I've had to date, because I didn't have to prompt you to share. You shared a lot. And at the same time, it was very difficult for me to hold myself back, because I just wanted to explore everything further in depth. So thank you so much.
I have to say I really enjoyed this. Usually, because media's got such time constraints, I don't get to go as in-depth as I got to go with you. And I got to cover so many really crucial concepts, including, the where our attraction mechanisms come from. I'm really hoping that your audience gets a lot out of this, because I got a lot out of it just doing the interview. So thank you.
Oh, phenomenal. Thank you. I'm so happy the feeling's mutual.
Hopefully we'll do it again.
Well, guys, that concludes another episode of the MDM podcast. As a reminder, to get your free copy of Frank's 3-set audio program called The Art of Charisma, From Creepy to Charisma, head on over to the show notes for episode 14 called Using Body Language to Create Attraction with Patty Contenta. For a free copy of Frank's ebook, The Emotional Needs of Women, you can head on over to the show notes for part 1 of this interview. And for a free copy of Frank's 5-set audio program called Pimping Your Pad, go to the show notes for this episode. All 3 sets of show notes have a link under the title Free Giveaway, which you will find at the top of each page. If you do not remember the direct links to these pages, which I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, then just go to the podcast page at mensdatingmastery.com and browse through the list to find them. It's pretty easy. That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening, and until next time.
Thank you for listening to Men's Dating Mastery, a podcast dedicated to improving the lives of men and the women around them.